I think they're doing it temporarily to see what happens, see why people are doing it, see if that helps with bookings. Because if you go back to the episodes with myself and Emil, we talk about this, VRBO bookings have ticked way up. They've stolen bookings from Airbnb because they're now cheaper. They have lesser fees depending on the property, and it's cheaper overall if you compare to based off of the host fee change. Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Cash Flow Positive. My name is Kenny Bedwell. I'm your host. And if you're new, welcome, welcome. Feel free to leave a review at the end if you found anything valuable. And if you didn't, don't leave a review. Just kidding. You're going to find a lot of things valuable. So, guys, big news. Airbnb actually listened to my pod. Just kidding. I don't know if they actually listen to the podcast, but they did something that it's really coincidental that we talked about this literally 2 weeks ago. And that's with the impact that the Airbnb fee change had. So what did Airbnb do, and why do I think they listen to my podcast? Number one, I don't actually think they listened, but it'd be cool if they did. So anyway, I thought that would be, we don't know. We don't know. One can only assume. But they just recently added the ability to do the split fee change back for hosts. So before October of last year, you had the ability to do two fee structures with Airbnb. There was a single fee, which was what everybody is on now, which is basically you have to pay the host pays a 15.5% fee for Airbnb for any booking. So in October, it was like October 26th or something like that. That's when that change happened. We went from a split fee model. So what was the split fee model? The split fee was basically you split the fee with the guest. Okay. Now, it was actually really favorable for guests because we only had to pay 3 to 3.5%, and guests only had to pay. So hosts paid 3% to 3.5%. Guests paid 14.1% to 16.1%, depending on the country and the area, and some other weird rules that they had. And we don't know what those really are. So most paid about 14.1%. So guests were paying that. Hosts were paying the 3%. So when a guest would book, they'd see the nightly rate and then they'd see the Airbnb fee added on. But now in October 2026, we know that that was changed to only single fee. Everybody had to do single fee who was on PMS. And then in December, they made everybody go over to that. I don't know. Some people are claiming they didn't have to do it, but they were only in Airbnb. I don't know what the dealio was, but I think everyone had to go to single fee at some point in time. Where now when a guest books, they see a single price. Okay. So we did a podcast on this, and I want you to go back and I want you to listen to, if you haven't listened to it. All right. Listen to us break it down. I brought on Emil Sakal, one of the best revenue managers in the industry. And we talked about it, what he's seeing, the impact in the last 6 months, the data behind it. And I did a part one episode on the economics of the impact that the fee changes would have. Very, very valuable lessons were heard or were taught. And if you haven't listened to that episode or episodes, is part one, part two, go back and listen to them. Okay. So, and then come back to this one. Now, for those of you who've listened, congratulations. Let's dive deeper in what's going on today. So Airbnb on April, what's the date? April 12th. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I got my dates right. So April 12th, was that Monday? No, Tuesday, April 12th. They quietly brought back the split fee. Okay. Option, meaning if you go into your fees in Airbnb, you can switch back to the split fee option. Now, what's wild about this is if you click it, they ask you, why do you want to go back to a split fee? And it gives you a couple options like, I don't understand the single fee option. I don't understand how to increase my rates. I'm not making any money, or I'm not getting any bookings, or other reasons, something like that. I think there was like 5 or 6 options, and that was the majority of them I just gave you. So, which is interesting, right? It's not like they want you to make sure, and they even have a big recommended is single fee. And so what we did is we actually called Airbnb up and was like, what is going on? Because we see this, and because number one, the first question is, if we switch back to a split fee model, are we going to get killed in the rankings? Right. And I don't really trust Airbnb to ever give me like a straight up truthful answer, maybe like a a marketing answer, but like a political answer, but never like a yes or no or whatever. But we wanted to fish and get some more information. So here's what we found out. Number one, the split fee model is only going to be active until June 22nd. They said that there was a lot of confusion about the split fee. And if you remember the data from the other episode, spoiler alert, if you haven't listened to that episode yet, um, only 60% of hosts made some sort of changing to their pricing to adapt for the split fee change, meaning that, or to the single fee change, meaning that I think it was like 30% or 20% increase their prices, or increased by 12% or less. And then yet another 30% that increased by 15.5% or higher. Some people did up to 18.35%. So regardless of all that, you had people, you had a lot of people switching, and we talked about the impacts that that and VRBO getting a lot more bookings. And so now all of a sudden Airbnb is quietly sneaking it back in. Now why they're claiming on the phone, they told us that they said there was a lot of confusion and they're putting it back until June so that people can figure out the math and figure out how they want to like change their pricing and how they want to do anything. Because I guarantee you, people got destroyed this winter with bookings. Now, I think they got destroyed this winter because of the economy, partly the economy, what's going on. I think that obviously booking lead time has shrunk significantly, which leads prices down. And we've been talking about that for some time now, right? So how far out people are booking has gone way down. And people are complaining and they're calling Airbnb and they're blaming it on this fee structure, which it's partly true. Remember, we talked about this in other episode in the previous episodes about if you have an average property, you're more likely to be impacted by the single fee change structure, because if you're increasing your prices to overcome the fee difference to net the same amount of income, then what's that going to do in the ranking algorithm? Drop you. And if you have an average property, that's going to drop you even further than everybody else. So it's real. So because pricing, you increased your prices. So now that the split fee is back, what am I doing? Number one, I'm going to change back to the split fee. Okay. Because I believe Airbnb claims, they told us this too, which is insane. Airbnb said, well, people who were on a single fee got more bookings. Okay. And I literally just recorded a podcast episode on vanity metrics, and that is a vanity metric. That doesn't tell me, sure, if people do a single fee, that means their prices are going to appear lower to guests and they're absorbing that fee and therefore they get more bookings. Yes, because they're cheaper, right? That doesn't mean that they necessarily raise their prices to overcome the fee. That's not what Airbnb is saying. They're saying, well, when they switch to single fee, they get more bookings. Well, of course they did. They just dropped their prices by over 14% to guests. So they're definitely going to get booked at a higher rate. But now they're making 14% less income. Who does that impact the most? The host. So although they'll get more bookings, they're making less money. Okay. That doesn't equate to profitability. So that might be true, but it's only beneficial for Airbnb. Remember, Airbnb only says things that's beneficial for them, right? So that's not necessarily like, we don't know if the single fee has actually been, and it's not, I know it's not beneficial for everyone. It might be beneficial for some, but it's not beneficial for most. So just based on economics, right? Okay. So Airbnb said that because of all this confusion, they're going to reinstate, or they reinstated the split fee until June 22nd. And on June 22nd, they will bring it back to the single fee only for everyone. You'll have to switch back. So what does that mean you do now? Okay. Number one, whether you go to single fee or split fee, it depends on your property. If you have an average property, if your property got crushed this winter or in spring and is not doing well, I would recommend you go back to the split fee. And here's why. The split fee, and you have to do one important thing too. Go into your property management software and remove the markup that you took out. So remember, all of us had to go in our property management software and mark up our pricing for Airbnb to overcome that fee. Whether it was, I told people 14.79%. Other people out there said 18.34%. Other people did 15.5. I don't want to get into the math on that, but it was really just math it out to figure out what you needed to do. But if you're going to go back to the split fee, you got to remove the markup. Okay. Or you're just going to appear a lot higher and not get booked. Here's why I don't think it's going to impact you in the rankings. Number one, your prices are going to drop because you just removed an 18, 15, or 14% fee onto Airbnb bookings. So I think if you go back to split fee, it's actually going to raise you up in the algorithm unless Airbnb has some sort of internal code that penalizes you for switching to the split fee model. I don't think they're going to do that though. And the reason why is because they're changing it back to single fee on June 22nd, is what they've told us, assuming that that's true and that holds water. So if that's the case, why would they try to penalize you and then bring back the single fee for everyone, right? They would probably just leave it permanent and tell you that, hey, like so they even say recommended, but we would find out if it hurt you in the algorithm. And look, that I am making an assumption, but it's assumption based on behavioral habits of Airbnb and what they're currently doing and what they've told us for the future. Now, if they're lying, all that other stuff, then throw everything out I just told you. We don't know yet. So we can only take action today and see what happens in the future. But I'm telling you right now, if what I'm telling you is true and the dates and if they're going to switch back, I don't think switching to a split fee is going to impact you lower in the ranking algorithm. It'll actually increase you higher because you are going to get rid of fees, higher fees, your markup pricing from what your pricing software to Airbnb is going to see is a lower fee. Therefore, you would naturally rank higher in your price in the ranking algorithm because your prices are lower to Airbnb. Now, you still have the factor of, well, guests are going to see this fee now. Will they book my property? Guys, they were doing this before. Ever since Airbnb was a thing, guests were paying a fee. Okay. When you book a hotel, there's an accommodation fee. When you book an airline, there's an airport or travel fee. Fees are really common. People don't love, I hate fees. Okay. Everyone hates fees. Are you kidding? But in the hospitality industry, travel industry, more in particular, there's always some kind of fee. So it is relatively expected. And that's why it's been fine years before. People are freaking out. Oh, well, what? And it's just speculation. But they forget that for many, many years, we already were doing this fee structure. It was already working. People were already booking, and it was absolutely fine. And they're going to see the same price, right? It's just not all wrapped up together. And to be frank, people are still confused about that because they have to pay taxes. I get that question all the time. They're like, well, I thought Airbnb, I had someone the other day, I guess they're like, well, I clicked, to book, but it said the total price was now, it said 5,000, now it's 6,000. I thought Airbnb was doing a all-inclusive fee, but I'm like, well, no, you have taxes. You still have to pay taxes, and there's a cleaning fee and there's a pet fee, right? And sure, they are like baking those things in, but then to add in the taxes and any other things that the cities or the states have. So people, like, they're going to see taxes, they're going to see other things. And we're not, obviously, before they were willing to pay it, they're still going to be willing to pay it now, and your prices are going to show lower. That's why I'm switching back to the split fee model. And then in June 22nd, which coincides with my birthday, unfortunately, I have to switch it back because that's what it's going to be switched back for me. So, and I don't want to get caught with my pants down, meaning I have to go back into my property management software and add in the markup fee of to adjust for the single fee model. So it's a switch here. I believe, especially for my properties, it will rank me higher and I will get more bookings if I go back to the split fee model than the single fee structure. I believe we're getting killed on the single fee structure from a profitability standpoint. And I'm all about profitability and cash flow. All right. So for me, I'm making the decision based off of what my goals are and how I'm defining success, which is how much does the property actually generate and what pricing and fee model fits that. So it's a temporal, not a band-aid per se. It's a temporal like benefit, right? It's like 2 months of being able to switch it back to a split fee. But here's the thing though, and Airbnb has done this before. If There's a high probability. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. I'm not saying I know anything. Like, just this is speculation. We're now into speculation mode. If Airbnb, if there's a high probability that Airbnb keeps the split fee there. Like, I think they're doing it temporarily to see what happens, see why people are doing it, see if that helps with bookings. Because if you go back to the episodes with myself and Emil, we talk about this. VRBO bookings have ticked way up. They've stolen bookings from Airbnb because they're now cheaper. They have lesser fees depending on the property, and it's cheaper overall if you compare to based off of the host fee change. And I shared some stories and an instance of this, and it's wild to see everyone posting about this. Like, their VRBO bookings are way up, Airbnb is way down. So is Airbnb doing this because VRBO is stealing summertime bookings, which is high peak season in most markets, and then they're switching it back midsummer so that they can, go back to their other model? I don't know, but sure looks like that. It's interesting. Are they going to, and then will they keep the split fee even though they're telling us June 22nd for now? You've got to pay attention. You've got to turn your notifications on. The hosts who are on the leading edge of this, the hosts who are having these, staying up to date, following the news on social media, and following, frankly, following what gurus are posting and talking about, they're the ones who are going to get ahead. If you're just now hearing about this, that's okay. Good for you. You've heard it from me. First, awesome. But more importantly, like, get some other news sources as well to verify these things. I'm one source, hopefully a good source for you that you trust and rely on, but I'm still only one source. Have multiple sources that you can get information on. I don't always get to things first, and hear about things first. So it's always good to have multiple sources or ways you can consume content as well. So just keep that in mind as you're, exploring what's going to go on with these fee changes and how that impacts your property and what you want to do in the future. Now, for those of you who don't have property and you're like, what the hell is going on? Maybe you're looking for your first property. Okay. And you're like, I don't even know what to do anymore. This is all confusing. Right now, all I have to say is don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Okay. Remember, and this goes back to go back and listen to those other episodes. This is like the part 3. I'll say that. So if your property has a moat, if it's unique, if it has things about it that make it stand out from the competition, we've talked about this before with, location, geography, property type, condition of the interior, exterior, amenities, design, moat factors. Okay. If your property has a moat and is unique, it's less impacted by ebbs and flows in the market, especially when Airbnb does these weird fee changes and changes their policies and cancellation stuff and all these different things. Your properties that are more unique, that are more the top producing properties, are less impacted by these things because they're booked regardless. They're more inelastic. I did a whole episode on inelasticity versus elasticity. We want to have an inelastic property, meaning no matter what Airbnb does or whatever the waves of, change bring us, our properties are resilient against those changes that will impact people differently. So if you're like, oh, well, this is all confusing. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going to go on. How should I underwrite all these other things? Take a breather, take a step back, put in the fee of 15.5% for now in your pro formas. Keep that going. Okay. But also understand that, all these changes are irrelevant if your property is a top producing property, right? And top producing properties have a moat. They stand out from the competition. Okay. They're always booked first. Remember, demand doesn't just go to zero unless there's a nuclear bomb, right? Like, it just doesn't go to zero. It never goes to zero. It can drop, but it doesn't matter because we're dealing with singular variables here, meaning that even if 100,000 people were going to an area and then the next year it dropped to 50,000 people, okay, so that's a 50% dip, 50,000 people are still going to the same market. Okay, the best properties will be booked first, regardless of the number of people traveling to that market, unless it's zero. So if you're the number one property and you have unique factors that can keep you at number one, meaning like you're just a special property, you will always be booked, and you can charge higher prices because you're the first property to be booked. That's the number one property. That's what we're shooting for, to be in the top 10%. Okay. Top 10% is less impacted by changes. Awesome. So guys, this is a very brief episode, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick update, help you understand. Oh, there's like a fly in here. Help you guys understand what is going on in the Airbnb space with the fee structure, how you can prepare, how you can leverage it, and just keep an eye out on the news and pay attention. Especially over the next few months on how you can adjust, because I guarantee you, if you play your cards right, you'll actually be profitable this year and get ahead of the competition, because the competition isn't doing what you're doing, which is listening to this podcast. So thanks everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you're new, like I said before, you found value in this, do me a favor and leave me I would love a 5-star. I love reading the 5-star reviews, guys. Thank you so much. They mean the world to me on iTunes and Spotify. I'm probably the only one that reads them, but that's okay. Me and my mom. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you on the next episode of Cash Flow Positive.